here again, bringing you week 4 of free agency deep cuts. It was definitely an odd week for waiver claims, to say the least, but there's still some great value left on waivers, so let's talk it out and go claim some winners. Let's kick things off at the quarterback position and talk about Taylor Heineke. Things may not be going very well for Washington from a real football perspective, but for our purposes, Taylor Heineke has been producing. He's had 2 passing touchdowns in each of the past 2 games, plus a touchdown on the ground last week against a tough Buffalo defense. All that production negates those silly little interceptions. And on top of that, he faces Atlanta this week, so we should see another very productive outing. Moving on to running backs, I never thought I would say this, but Kyle Juszczyk might actually be viable this week. True to Kyle Shanahan form, he is refusing to let one running back handle the entire workload. Trey Sermon was technically the lead back last week, but Juszczyk was very involved. He went 4 for 4 in receptions, plus a touchdown. The situation in week 4 could play out very similar to last week, and Juszczyk could be a deep value play. Do pay attention to Elijah Mitchell's status, although it sounds like he's trending closer to doubtful as we get closer to the game. But even if Mitchell plays, it's very possible that Shanahan just prefers Juszczyk as the second back over Sermon. Moving on to wide receivers, and we're going to do a 2-for-1 special because both Raiders receivers, Bryan Edwards and Hunter Renfrow, are still very available in most leagues, which I find fascinating because Henry Ruggs is heavily rostered, but it's actually Hunter Renfrow who has the most targets in the Raiders receiving core. He has a very solid floor, and 1 touchdown is all it takes to take him to a very productive performance. With Bryan Edwards, he does see the least amount of targets between the 3, but he's got that big play capability, which makes him a good upside play. Moving on, the loss of James White definitely will have an effect on the New England running backs, but it might actually be the wide receivers who see an uptick in targets with White out, and Kendrick Bourne is likely one of those beneficiaries. In week 3, his snap count jumped dramatically from 44% in week 1, 53% in week 2, all the way up to 76% in week 3 with 6 receptions on 8 targets, 96 yards, and a touchdown. New England plays Tampa Bay this week, a defense whose biggest vulnerability, and they know it, is their pass defense. Moving on, another sneaky play this week could definitely be Colin Johnson, who is very available on waivers. The second-year receiver has only been with the Giants for literally a month, but it is the perfect opportunity for him to make an impact on Sunday. Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton are facing hamstring injuries, and Kenny Golladay will likely be covered by the Saints' Marshawn Lattimore. Johnson went 5 for 7 with 51 yards on Sunday and could be in line for another solid performance. The Titans are another team who are facing injuries to its top 2 receivers with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. It's unlikely that Brown plays, and there's not a lot of clarity around Jones. He could be a game-time decision. And Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is someone who can step in and play a bigger role this week. In week 3, he had a snap count of 78% and went 4 for 4 with 53 yards and a touchdown. He's in a prime position to receive an increase in targets, red zone opportunities as well, especially against a struggling Jets team. Moving on to tight end, the production hasn't been flashy for Dawson Knox, but it's been consistent. Knox has caught a touchdown in each of the last 2 games while seeing a nice bump in snap count as well. He is readily available on waivers and could be a good pivot for teams who have tight ends with injury concerns or just concerns in general, if you know what I mean. And let's squeeze in one more tight end option and go with Pat Freiermuth. Big Ben has become the new check down king, hitting Najee Harris with 19 targets last week. I think it bodes well for the tight end position as well. And that is looking like it's moving more towards Pat Freiermuth, who is staking his claim with increased targets, so he could be a sneaky option this week and a good long-term stash. And that wraps things up for this week's free agency deep cuts. If you're in a pinch, I hope some of these options help carry you to victory. Thank you for watching, good luck with your lineups, and I will see you again next week.